Welcome to the Bishop Exchange. It's John Bishop and Des Bishop here with Bradley. It's been a very, very strange week. We're a couple of days outside of the incident that happened in Liverpool, and I think it would be strange to not talk about it. We delayed doing this podcast for 24 hours until we got confirmation that there were no fatalities, and it looks likely that everybody is stable and hopefully will recover fully from their injuries. But obviously we can't do this podcast without mentioning it.
Well, you were at the thing, right?
I was there. I was at the parade. And it's been an amazing day because I took me dad. My dad's 84. Now, there's absolutely no way I'd take my dad to that parade unless we were in somewhere that we could see without being jostled by the crowd. The last Liverpool parade that my dad went to was in 1965.
Wow.
When they won the FA Cup. And my dad had taken my mum, who was pregnant with my sister. And she must have been, I guess, about 4 months pregnant, something like that. And he just said there was too many people. He couldn't get to see the cup and Bill Shankly and all that stuff at the town hall. So he left. So he hadn't ever seen the bus come. I mean, when I say this is the last one in town. We've been to various parades because the route is always the same. Goes down Queen's Drive, and we've been to that bit, but we've never been into town. So the last time we've been there was in 1965. So it's obviously an amazing opportunity to take him somewhere because one of my mates works in an office block which is right on the Strand, which is the road where the parade was going past, right on the pier front. So he invited us to it. So I said to me, Dad, do you fancy it? And he said, well, if we can get to it, I don't have to do a lot of walking, great. So we did. We got there a few hours early, and we were having an amazing day. It was only invited guests, and amongst those invited guests was Jurgen Klopp and Kenny Dalglish. So my dad at one point was looking out the window with Jurgen Klopp and Kenny Dalglish when the fans noticed them through the window. And all the fans started singing and waving at Jurgen Klopp and Kenny Dalglish, and my dad started waving back. So he was having the time of his life, and everything had gone brilliantly. And then we got word about what had happened. Now, as we're recording this, the person who's been arrested hasn't been charged yet, so we don't know their identity, but it seems very likely it was the individual that was driving the car, which was a person from Liverpool who, for whatever reason, decided to follow an ambulance into that cordoned off area and then tried to drive through, and God knows what's happened. He's lost his head, and there's been an horrendous incident. I don't know, how was it reported over in America?
The exact same. I mean, like that basic bit of information got over here pretty fast. Like it was covered quite extensively actually in the American press. And it was basically white dude, 52, 53-year-old dude from Derby.
West Derby, yeah.
Yeah. And that obviously initially you think it's another, incident of a car, because there's been a lot of these incidents.
Yeah, you've
right?
had them a few times in the States, yeah.
You just think, God, no. I mean, honestly, I just initially thought about you guys, and I just thought about Liverpool being just too many tragedies associated with Liverpool Football Club. So I didn't really get into all the internet loves to just get into it straight away.
Yeah.
I was just feeling the sadness of it. I just, because you had talked about how you didn't get to celebrate the last time, and I just thought, Jesus, it's so sad.
Yeah, it's something. Though a lot of people have said that it's so sad that it's Liverpool. Liverpool has suffered so many tragedies and stuff, but it's also a very, very strong city. And when you see, particularly like even if you see the incident, what happened, nobody knew. There was just a car in the wrong place that was driving erratically, and obviously we've seen terrorist incidents like that before, but people didn't run away from it. They ran to it. They
Yeah.
ran to stop it. They ran to get the driver out. And I think if there's a reflection of the people of the city, it's that. Everybody was trying to do the right thing and protect each other. And I suppose in some respects as well, the community spirit and the fact that, you know, the club song is "You'll Never Walk Alone." It's an ethos. It's a way of life, really. And in many respects, this club can take it. You know, we can bounce back from so many things because we have done in the past and will do again. Your heart goes out to the individuals and the families who are suffering. And I thought it was brilliant as well. Billy Hogan, the club CEO, did a message that I saw on Instagram where he read the statements. Instead of the club just putting the statements out through the press office, he was a face of the club saying, look, you know, we're with you all the way. We're all feeling this. And I think that was also a very good move. But no one can say or do the right things on occasions like this. You've just got to allow a little bit of due process to happen and hope that those that have been injured and affected by it can recover. There's questions to be asked as to why the car was there, of all the authorities involved, but on the flip side of things, the response must have been immediate to have been able to have saved so many people so quickly. And I don't know, I just, you know what's so annoying about it is it was easily avoidable. Easily avoidable. By the time he drove into people, he'd already moved a long way down the street. I just can't believe that on that procession on the way down, someone in a yellow jacket didn't step out and go, "What are you doing here?" You know, there's got to be so many questions like that. It's just horrible. If there is anything that I think we're all a little bit relieved upon, is that it was a random act of madness or stupidity by somebody and not an orchestrated terrorist incident, which is, you know, another level of fear is brought into it through that. And, you know, the thing is, the whole weekend has been a celebration process, because normally what happens with these parades is that the team, you know, when we've had them in the past, more recent times for the European Cup and so on, the team's flown back with the cup. The cup's been played in Europe or something, and they've flown back, and then the parades the next day, and all the people who went to watch them generally don't get back as quick as the team. So they're a bit more ad hoc, or when the team wins the league, you know, like they won the league, they played the last home game on Sunday, and the parade was on Monday. Often the last home game would happen, but there'd still be a cup final to play, so the parade would be afterwards. It was all condensed into this weekend. The weekend itself was a celebration of the fact that it was 20 years since we won the European Cup in 2005 with that iconic game. So there was celebration. 20 years ago, 2005, man. Tell me about it.
Jesus, I'm not going to complain about how much that hurt me in light of the circumstances, but I can't fucking believe that was 20 years ago,
mate. Honestly, and that game where Liverpool were getting beat 3-0 at half time, I was still working for the pharmaceutical industry.
Really?
That game was one of the triggers that made me leave the job. I had it's funny because I've been a Liverpool supporter all my life, but as I get older, it's getting more and more important to me. And when I look at some of and I don't know why, it just does, you know, because I'm going to the games now with me dad. We've got the same tickets, the same seats. My dad's enjoying going for a meal beforehand and all. So there's that connection. But it's funny when I look at it now, and I think it was pivotal because of that game. So if people don't know, Liverpool were in the European Cup final in Istanbul in 2005, and they were playing AC Milan. And in all honesty, you know, AC Milan were by far a better team than Liverpool. There's no way Liverpool will anyone give them a chance.
In fact, I think most people were surprised that they got to the final.
They got to the final, yeah. In fact, I don't think
they weren't given the benefit. I think they were saying, "Oh, they got lucky. They got easy draw, all that stuff." I remember.
Yeah. Yeah,
did they finish second that year? They weren't the Premier League.
No, I don't. No. I think we were fourth in the Premier League. I think that's what qualified us for it. I don't think we were in the top four in that season either.
That was what's his face, right? The Spanish guy.
Yeah.
The
Rafa
manager?
Benitez was the manager.
Yeah.
But the big team in England at the time was Chelsea, and we played Chelsea in the semi-final. So, as you know, Chelsea were a good side.
Yeah, they were good
meant
then.
to go to. Yeah, Jose Mourinho was the manager. We beat them in the semi-final, and that was the bit where all the way through Olympiacos, there was loads of big games where Liverpool just pulled it out the bag against Chelsea. So we get a ticket for the final. I had the ticket for the final. And when I say that Liverpool means a lot to me, I had the ticket to the final, and at the same time, the final clashed with the International Congress of Immunology and Transplantation, which was taking place, in Seattle. And so I said to me, boss, I can't go. I've got a ticket for the final. And he went, well, you've got a job. And your job is you've got to go to Seattle because you've got to present the marketing plan for the UK. And it's the international. So the drug that I used to sell stopped people rejecting the organs after the transplant. So this was a big medical meeting. But because all the senior people in the company were going from all over the world, they were having a company meeting alongside it. And he said, you've got to be at the meeting. You wrote the plan. You've got to do the plan. And I'm like, I fucking don't want to go. And he said, well, you've got to go. I said, well, I don't want to go. And he said, well, do you want to pay for your mortgage? I mean, this is your job. This is the one thing you got to do. The big bosses from Japan are coming over. I can't say, oh, sorry, he didn't want to come. He went to the match. He said, it just doesn't work. So I remember looking at it and trying to see if I could do my presentation and fly the other way around from Seattle to fucking Istanbul. There's no way I could make it. So it was
definitely the wrong direction.
Yeah, I was looking at everything, and I accepted it. I went, oh, right, I can't do it. And in the end, what happened is the meeting that I was meant to present on, which would have been on the same day as the final, got moved forward the afternoon, I think, before or something like that. It just meant with the time difference that if I left the meeting right at the end of my presentation and I walked out and I got in a taxi, got to the airport, and I flew from Seattle, I would get home for the kickoff. So that's what I did. I flew from Seattle, on the West Coast. So I traveled for 19 hours.
Tough flight.
Yeah, 19 hours. Walked into my house just as the game was kicking off. All of my mates had gone to the match, so all of their wives and kids would come to my house. Melanie invited them. So I'm in the house. There's little girls doing cartwheels in front of the telly. No one else is interested in the match.
John and the
me.
Wags.
I know. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then there was only me. Joe was kind of interested in the game, but everyone else, no one was bothered. And I'm like, fucking, why have I done this? I'm jet lagged. I'm still in my suit. I'm in my suit, right, from the meeting, right? And then half time, we're getting beat.
Depression.
3-0. Yes, we're getting beat 3-0, and I'm thinking, I've done the right thing. I'm a dad. I've got a good job. If they want to go to the match, that's fine. My boss is right. I've done the right thing by everybody. I've done the right thing. At the end, when we draw and then we win on penalties, I am the most depressed person. Honestly, God, you wanted to ask Melanie about this. I went into a depression that lasted about 10 months. Honestly, for nearly 3 years, I never wanted to see the fucking penalties. I never wanted to talk about it. But for 10 months, I was going, I should have been there. Because I had jet lag as well. What happened? Everybody who went to the match couldn't get out of Istanbul, so they were all at the airport because they had to take stadium was miles out of the city, so it was a big cock-up, but obviously they weren't bothered. So they were all at the airport. I'm jet-lagged. I'm walking the streets. My mates are phoning me at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't go to sleep. And everything go, you should have been here. The best game of footy in your life. And honestly, I made the decision. I thought, I am never going to get told by another grown man that I can't go to the match. So I'd started doing comedy, and I was doing all right at it. And and as I say, this 10 months, I was just pissed off. And Melanie said, "You're going to have to do something." I said, "I've got to leave my job. I've got to give it a go. At least then it's my decision if I go to a match or not." And she said, "That's not the best reason to change, to leave a career."
Yeah.
She says, "But if," I said, I promise you, I promise you we'll be okay. I'll make enough money. I said, "But I just can never, ever do that again." And she said, "Yeah, go with it." So honestly, if we'd have got beat, I might have stuck at it. I might have just gone, that was the right decision.
Wow.
It's fucking mad,
That's
isn't
one
it?
of those. That's one of those moments, man.
But it's one of those things where sport means something to you in a way that you can't possibly understand. And I think that's why when there's an excuse to experience that community that sport can give you, and to express all of this, like going to a parade, that's why there will be people asking, why did 1 million people bother turning up? I mean, like, trains were getting cancelled, so people were getting taxis. Oh, the best you were going to do is to see people who play football a lot better than you go past on a bus and wave at you. That's the best you're going to get. You're going to watch multimillionaires going past on a bus, and then the bus ends, they all get on their private jets and go on holiday. But you know what? That's enough, because it's not just about them. It was the build-up before. We were there hours before, and because we were in this office block, we could see the crowds building up. You know, there was a lad playing music from one of the buildings out the window, so everyone's singing all the songs. You could hear it. We were on the 13th floor. You could hear the crowd singing in the atmosphere, even in the rain. And that's what football is. That's what sports is. It just brings people together to celebrate the joy of being alive. And then this fucking dickhead comes along, and I hope with time we can get back to the memory of the moments, if everybody's able to recover and not allow that to cloud things. It'd be horrible if that's the case.
I have to tell you that I didn't have as momentous an experience in 2005.
What were you doing?
I was just sitting in fucking Rialto with Willa White watching the match.
So you'll have to explain who Willie is to people.
Yeah, so I was with Willa. You know, I had already, like I was already like blowing up as an Irish comic. You were still fucking thinking about leaving your job.
Yeah, you were famous.
I was in my explosive period. And but Willa, a lot of people probably don't know this, but so Willa was part of a television series that I made called Joy in the Hood, which was about like trying to find stand-up comedians in traditionally like disadvantaged areas. But a lot of people probably don't know that I was friends with Willa before. So this was actually before Joy in the Hood came out. I think it was after we filmed his episode, but that's not why I know Willa. Anyway, long story short, it was me, Aiden, and Willa in my gaff. I just bought the gaff, actually. I don't even think I had a couch. I think we were sitting on fucking beanbags watching the match. And I mean, there's nothing. The joke really is because Willa, that I was with Willa.
Yeah.
I didn't have a life-changing experience.
I can picture that. Yeah, I can picture you doing that. You can picture me in my businessman's suit while this kid's doing cartwheels in front of it, and everyone's moaning like, "Why can't we put the cartoons on?" And then jump to Istanbul where my mates are there, and the lad Sam who got my magic ticket, my mate Sam who's in Istanbul, can't believe his fucking luck at the biggest game of the world. Go, ah! And then it's me and you go, oh.
Willa was going crazy, man.
Oh,
I remember he was going crazy. I think I had a show that night. I think he was with me because we were going to go do a show afterwards. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, but
mate, he's a good
most
man
importantly,
to be
I
with.
can't believe it's 20 years ago. And I have to say, John, because I I was being lighthearted about the Willow thing, but you expressed very well the importance of football and community and Liverpool specifically. You know,
Yeah.
it's very. Some clubs have more heart than others, and even though I'm not a Liverpool supporter, you can't deny that the Liverpool thing is deeper. You know,
Yeah. I don't know because I've not supported anyone else.
it is. What do you think, Brad? I know you're a Liverpool guy, but
but it's interesting. I was going to ask Brad because Brad's mum and dad are mad football supporters, but Brad himself isn't. So what? Yeah, what? How would you, from a football supporting family, but who's not a football supporter, do you see that connection? Can you understand it?
I feel like I've understood it more in recent years when I've just seen so many like international fans and stuff. Like there's so many American celebrities and stuff that love LFC and
it's
shit like
all
that.
about celebrity with you, Brad.
But like even like when we've been on tour in America and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, what's your accent?" And you'll say, "Oh, I'm from Liverpool," and they'll be like, "Oh, Mo Salah," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah. But do you know what's great about that in terms of just Liverpool and the internationalization of football is that like football in the last 10 years has really grown in the States and the coverage has gotten bigger and bigger. And you got Men in Blazers, you got these like huge podcasts. It's been in the Liverpool dominance era because let's face it, 20 years ago in Istanbul was a bit of not a fluke, but it was like a one-off moment that didn't sustain itself. Whereas the last 10 years, Liverpool has dominated Manchester United. Like 10 years before, it was everyone loved Manchester United, but over here now, there's probably more Liverpool fans than there are Man U fans.
Yeah,
so,
and I think also as well because Jurgen Klopp and his connection with the supporters,
yes.
and there is an unwavering passion. Like there's no. Like Man City have had a bad season this season, but they gained a lot of new supporters. You'll have people that will leave them. They're a good club, Man City, and they'll have got a good hotbed of supporters. But there's some of them who's only been ever used to success. And what you almost need to have failure so that when success comes back again, you love it more. And it is mad. I mean, I have genuinely watched Liverpool. I was just trying to think that the maddest places. I was going to say Shanghai. I watched Liverpool playing in one of the Champions League games against Roma in Shanghai. I was filming in Shanghai and I went to the Shanghai Liverpool Supporters Club, which was
you watched the match on TV.
And watched the match on TV with the Shanghai Liverpool Supporters Club. All these, and it was on at about 2:00 in the morning in a pub. All wearing Liverpool shirts, all these Chinese people watching the game, and you think, Jesus Christ, would I stay awake till 2:00 in the morning to watch a game in a foreign country? I don't know.
Can you see that?
No, what is it?
So in Chinese, it's Li Wu Po.
Li Wu Po.
That's the fucking Li Wu Po.
That's not.
Li Wu Po Jia Yo. They say Jia Yo for like that's like their let's go. So Li Wu Po Jia Yo. So they alliterate for Western names. So they use the li, which is fourth tone, right? Wu, which is fourth tone, right? And then they use
So what do you mean fourth tone?
It's tonal Mandarin. So okay, so. You never know how a conversation is going to go, but it's 4 tones. 4 tones. These are 4 different words in Mandarin, okay? Ma, 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 ma. And the 4th tone is like a snap. Ma. But I'm exaggerating so you can hear it. So that's 4 different words, right? So it's, in this case, it's li, wu, po, because the po is 3rd tone.
No
So the 3rd tone is like po.
Po.
That's good.
Li po.
But the li wu is li wu po.
Li Wu Po.
Good.
Li Wu Po.
Jia Yo.
Liverpool, Jayo.
No, you just said Liverpool, bro. Like you just said Liverpool like a person with bad English. In fact, I think you're canceled now because you did
I know.
Liverpool.
Listen,
You did
we're
Liverpool
doing
in a
the-
Chinese accent, bro.
I know. Listen, in sign language, that's Liverpool.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, in British Sign Language, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The L and the dancing.
Yeah. So anyway,
music.
but I think you've encapsulated it very well. What
Yeah,
it means.
it's.
I tell you when I truly understood Liverpool Football Club, because I watched the incredibly sad but powerful 30 for 30 documentary about Hillsborough, and that affected me deeply. Actually, it didn't turn me into a Liverpool supporter, but like I got it. And then I think similar at a similar time, or maybe it was before. Do you remember when me and you met John Aldridge in the hotel in Dublin? Do you remember we went for a drink with John Aldridge? Because I remember him talking about it, and I didn't realize. Oh, so it must have been before, actually, because I didn't know that he was on the pitch that day.
Yeah.
And when he was talking about it, that was the first time I started to grasp fucking how affected he was by it. Because I remember him talking about the funerals and what it, that was the, like, I'd never, because I'm American. I at the time, that didn't register with me,
No, and again, when people sort of look at footballers today and the world of sports today, it's mad to think that thing happened. But when that thing happened, I was actually playing in when Hillsborough happened, I was playing in a semi-final myself of the FA Trophy, which was the semi-pro equivalent to the FA Cup. So Liverpool in the semi-final of the FA Cup, I was playing semi-final of the FA Trophy, and I remember coming off the pitch and we got beat, and then somebody say something has happened at Hillsborough and there's been people killed, and everyone thinking, geez, what? And obviously I knew people who were there, people who were gone. And then when as we've all heard, and this isn't necessarily the place to go over all of the things that went wrong with the way that the politics behind it and the lies that were told and the way Margaret Thatcher apportioned the blame to the supporters and what happened with the corruption within the police. All of those things were horrendous and horrible. But if you just talk about the human side of the club's relationship with the supporters and the fact that players, and particularly Kenny Dalglish, they went to all the funerals, had players at them. There was 96 people taken, 96 funerals, and players went to all of them. And they were sometimes doing 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. That's and doing that for a period of time, that's a lot.
Yeah,
on young men. We're talking to John Aldridge. When we're talking to John Aldridge, he's a man our age now, but he's a man looking back at the time. I think Aldo would have been about 30.
Is a man your age?
Yes. But you know what I mean? Yeah. But what I mean is, there's lads on that pitch there in the 20s. This is like, Kenny Dalglish was the manager. He was a young man relative to what was Kenny then? He would have been about 35, I think, 34. It's a lot. But it was obvious. I've spoke to Kenny about it, and he just said there wasn't even a question that they were going to do that. Yeah. John Aldridge is from Liverpool. There wasn't a question that they weren't going to be there as much as they could for the supporters. And I think that's where you create a unshakable bond then. You create, and the fact that then there was the continuous fight for justice that has continued, and the 96 then became 97. I just feel, in some respects, that tragedy is going to define the relationship of the club with the supporters. And when Liverpool has been, as everyone has done in the Premier League now, been spoke about someone else buying it and someone else, other owners coming in and so on, and we had the Hicks and Gillette fiasco and all that. If people don't get that, and that's one thing that Fenway Sports seems to have been able to understand, if people do not get that this is not just a franchise that you can buy into and run and print shirts and make a profit of. There's something deeper, and that tragedy enhanced that deepness. And I think that it's for anyone taking this club on, if anyone buys it, it just can't be some kind of venture capitalist trying to make a few quid, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, I really, when I really truly understood it was when they were having that event, and that I can't even. It's weird. I stupidly got overly affected by that documentary, but they're having that event, and the politician.
Sorry, I don't know that documentary.
Oh man, fuck me. I was profoundly affected by it, honestly. But
what was it, just so that we can get it right? What was it called?
Oh, I gotta look it up. It was an ESPN 30 for 30. Yeah, I'll look it up. Are you looking it up, Brad? 30 for 30 about the Hillsborough. Anyway,
I think it's just called Hillsborough.
Oh yeah. So what? Do you remember when there was an event at the ground at Anfield, and this politician gets up?
Oh,
and he tries to give and he's clearly a good guy. Guy, but he tries to.
Andy Burnham. So what happened? Every year there was a memorial, and then it starts off small, got bigger and bigger, and started being at the ground, and then Andy Burnham had been invited to speak, and the crowd, and he was trying to say, look, we're going to do the right thing, we're going to, because there've been previous other attempts to get it moved forward, and again a previous Labour Home Secretary, Jack Straw, had said no, we're not going to investigate any further, which was fucking awful, horrendous. When you think that Liverpool's a Labour city, that they turned their back on us. So Andy Burnham stood there, and then the crowd just started singing.
Well, somebody shouted. He said, so, I'm going to do what, he said something, and somebody, you can hear it so clearly. Somebody shouts, "Justice!" And then the crowd just goes, and he just has to stand there and listen. It's very powerful.
And to be fair,
I was bawling my eyes out watching it.
He went on with it. Yes, fucking amazing. And I remember there's been so many occasions demands for a judicial review. And for people who don't know about it, and the American people who don't know what happened, basically the police lied, and they lied about statements, and they covered themselves up, and it was a fault of the police.
And they used the tropes of the savages up north and alcohol,
all of that stuff,
all that stuff.
And the Prime Minister at the time, Margaret Thatcher, blamed the supporters, and it wasn't the supporters' fault. The police made a mistake. They opened the gates, and as a result, there was a crush. And as I say, 96 people died at the time. The 97th victim was a lad called Andrew Devine, who lived but died as a result of his injuries much later on. And as a national disgrace, people went to a sporting event and never came home, and they were refusing to have a public inquiry about it. Refusing to have a public... Now, if that had been anything else, if that had been a rugby game, if it had been a horse racing, there'd have been some kind of outcry. But because it was football, they just went, yeah, well, that's what they do.
Yeah, and there was a lot of coverage at the time about hooliganism, so there was an automatic knee-jerk response that it was more of this...
Yeah. And again, we had it recently when we were over in Paris for the Champions League. The French Minister of Sport, the Liverpool supporters, and again, I was at that. We got tear gas queuing up. We got tear gas because they weren't opening the turnstiles. The fucking organisation was disgusting. And then all around the ground was surrounded by gangs who were just waiting to try and pick people off. It was awful, horrible. And again, the French minister said it wasn't us, it was the Liverpool supporters. And only last week, he's apologised and said it was completely my fault. And it's like, fuck it, you can't. One thing that will happen with this recent incident and anything to do with the people of Liverpool, if you lie, they'll get you in the end. We will just keep fighting until the truth comes out. You
The
cannot
hardest
just,
thing to
like,
fight for is the truth.
Yeah, but and I
the
know that's
tagline.
and I know this seems like a really hard beating app and a hard thing to talk about, but in all honesty, you touched on Hillsborough, and when you touch on that, it opens up this whole feeling of deceit and this whole feeling of a
Us
bunker
against them.
mentality. Yeah, because it is us against them. And, Margaret Aspinall, who leads the Hillsborough family group, so elegant. She lost her son. She's just a mum who's all of a sudden lost her son, but somebody needs to speak, and she's, what a force of nature she is as a person.
She's great in the documentary, actually.
Yeah, we've never seen that because it's an ESPN thing, but it's, it won't have any more content than we already know. And the truth of the matter is, justice still hasn't been served. That's a horrible thing, and I didn't. We could talk for a long time about that. And,
I only brought it up because I tell you why I brought it up, because this episode is about why it matters. People are thinking about that. Of course, they're thinking about that after what happened the other day, but it's also explains part of who you are. And I think I really feel that tragedy is part of the Liverpool football club identity. So
it is. It's just there was a time when football was associated with violence, and it's not now. And that's why I suppose in some respects, no one. If this had have happened in the 80s, someone's immediate reaction would have been hooliganism. Now, the immediate reaction is terrorism. And unfortunately, it was neither. But unfortunately, there was one individual who's caught themselves up in a situation that they will regret for the rest of their lives. Horrible. I don't know how we do with this, Brad. This feels like we might be going down dark holes.
Bro, you always worry too much. It's a great conversation. These are integral parts of like your Liverpool, like your journey, like particularly with the football club, like the highs, the lows.
Yeah.
If we were talking about the New York Mets, which is my coffee cup, I could tell you about. I'm not going to bore you guys now, but I could tell you about the moments that matter to us, and like it's part of, and by the way, I'm not going to talk about the Mets for too long, but I just want to say the very quick comparison is, I am obsessed with the New York Mets, but part of the reason is because they're from Flushing, which is where I'm from, and I spent most of my life away from where I'm from, and it was my way to hold on to my connection to who I am. And my grandmother was obsessed with them, my Irish grandmother, and it's more than just sport for me. It actually calms me, even though sport frustrates me. It calms me. It makes me feel connected. So it's not just about the stupid sport and these insane millionaires. It's about community and identity, and I'm okay with that.
It's all of that. And I tell you, this one thing that I would say, like you've got the Mets, you've got the Yankees, you've got New York's got its identity.
But the Yankees are Man U. We're not going to get into it.
I know, but what I mean is they've got clubs that have got an identity. But in some respects, I think the fact that we've got American owners who also own the Red Sox that have a similar, I don't know, meaning to the
chip on their shoulder, City.
Yeah, but mate, a similar thing to live at that. What I was trying to say before
Second
about the
place
ownership,
City.
honestly, we keep on getting are the Arabs going to buy Liverpool? And I just don't think that we are lucky that we have owners of the club who I think get it more than some others would. I'm not saying that
because the Red Sox have real history though. And
that's what I mean.
There's not that many grounds left in American sports that have the history that Fenway Park has. Yeah. So I do think they're the right owners for you guys. And Boston does have, by the way, I'm joking saying that Liverpool's like second place city, but it is that thing of the more regional city always has a chip on their shoulder to prove
Yeah.
themselves to the bigger cities. You know what I mean? So like, I think that the Boston mentality and the Liverpool mentality, they can understand each other in a way that makes sense.
Oh, definitely, and I think that I think we're lucky in that respect. Obviously, they've come in for commercial reasons, and the businessmen, and they're not philanthropists.
But it's
in that
working for
respect,
everybody.
but it's working for everybody. They have been absolutely brilliant since they've come in, and I think
And
we're
look at
lucky to have them.
look what the Americans that Man U got.
Exactly, that's what I mean. We had the same shape beforehand as well.
But you know what though? But you know what's terrible about American sport? Without getting too distracted, is like, when these teams win the Super Bowl, like the owner gets presented with the trophy first. They interview the owner first. It's like, I hate that.
Yeah, that's one good thing about football that doesn't happen.
Nah.
Yeah, and
just
and
quit.
to be fair, they when the trophy was given, they were on the pitch, but they were away.
Yeah,
they were stood by the side with the staff, which was great.
And listen, the money works, man. Look at Wrexham.
Yeah, works.
We're like, look what they've done for that city and all that stuff. Yeah. So anyway, I think, John, you've represented well the emotions of the last couple of days, but also the deeper meaning of Liverpool Football Club and what it means to be a person from Liverpool. So I think you've represented yourself well.
So listen, I think one thing that I would say, Des, coming from you and also from what I've seen coming through, there's been a massive flood of support, and that's one thing. If I can say anything to the people outside of the community that experienced it, the support that we've received has been immense, and there is a lot of love. A lot of love for the people of Liverpool, and I think that's been felt. I think that's definitely fair to say, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you.